You're sitting in a dimly lit bar, the kind where the hum of conversation mixes with the clink of glasses, and the faint scent of whiskey lingers. She's across the room, her laugh cutting through the noise, drawing eyes like a spotlight. You feel that familiar pull, the urge to walk over, say something slick, and make her notice you. But all this time, you've been chasing the wrong game, trying to impress her, to win her approval with clever lines or perfect timing. It's exhausting, and it's not working. The truth is, there's a psychological hack so subtle, so primal, it burns you into her mind forever. It's not about what you say, it's about how you make her feel. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to plant yourself in her thoughts, not as a passing fling, but as the man she can't forget. Let's dive into the first piece of this hack: emotional anchoring. It's not about manipulating her, it's about creating a moment so vivid, so charged, that she associates you with a feeling she can't shake. You're not trying to be her friend or her entertainer. You're crafting an experience that hits her on a gut level. When you walk into that bar, you're not scanning for her validation. You're carrying an energy that's calm, grounded, and just a little unpredictable. You're the guy who doesn't need her to like him, but when you engage, you leave a mark. This is what makes her replay your face, your voice, your presence long after you're gone. I saw this work with a buddy, Nate, who used to fumble every interaction with women. He'd approach, armed with pick-up lines, but his nervousness screamed louder than his words. One night, we're at a crowded club, and he spots a woman who's clearly out of his league, sharp, confident, the kind who shuts guys down without blinking. He's about to launch into his usual routine, but I stop him. Don't try to impress her, I say. Just be real, but make it intense. He walks over, doesn't smile, just looks her in the eye and says, "You look like you're here to break hearts. Am I next?" It's not the line, it's the delivery, steady with a hint of challenge. She laughs, but it's different, like she's caught off guard. They talk for a few minutes, and then he does something unexpected. He walks away. "Gotta catch up with my friend," he says, leaving her mid-sentence. An hour later, she's finding him, asking why he bailed. By the end of the night, she's the one chasing. Nate didn't win her over with charm, he anchored an emotion, a mix of intrigue and tension, and that's what stuck. Here's where most guys screw it up. They think making an impression means being the loudest, the funniest, or the smoothest. They'll rattle off stories, crack jokes, or shower her with compliments, hoping something sticks. It doesn't. That's just noise, and she's heard it all before. The mistake is chasing her approval, adjusting your vibe to get her to smile or laugh. Every time you do that, you're handing her the power, and she feels it. Women don't remember the guy who tries too hard, they remember the guy who makes them feel something real, something that lingers. If you're performing, you're forgettable. If you're anchoring an emotion, confidence, mystery, a spark of defiance, you're unforgettable. Try this exercise. Think about the last time you talked to a woman you were into. Replay the moment. Were you focused on keeping her entertained, on saying the right thing? Chances are you were playing it safe, trying to be likable. Now imagine this instead. You're talking to her, but you're not invested in her reaction. You say something bold, maybe a little edgy, like, "You seem like trouble. Should I be worried?" You hold her gaze, not smiling too quick, letting the moment hang. If she bites, great. If not, you're fine walking away. That's emotional anchoring, creating a moment that's sharp, alive, and hers to wrestle with. It's not about being perfect, it's about being memorable. And that starts with owning the energy you bring. The challenge is to start small. Next time you're out, pick a moment to create that spark. Approach a woman, but don't aim to win her. Say something real, maybe a comment about the vibe, or a playful challenge like, "You look like you're planning something dangerous." Keep it short, hold the tension for a beat, then leave the conversation first. Don't linger, don't wait for her to validate you. Do it because you're testing your own power, not hers. That act of anchoring, of rejecting the need to keep her hooked, plants you in her mind. She'll wonder why you didn't stay, who you are, and that wonder is the seed of obsession. It's not about being cruel, it's about being unforgettable. And that's the guy she'll think about when the night ends. You're at a house party. The kind where the lights are low and the music is just loud enough to make conversations intimate. She's leaning against the kitchen counter, sipping something clear. Her eyes scanning the room like she's used to being the center of it. You feel that instinct to approach, to say something that'll make her light up, but you don't. You're working on the second piece of this psychological hack, deliberate scarcity. It's not about playing games or being aloof, it's about rejecting the urge to be always available, to give her all your attention the moment she wants it. You choose when to show up and when to disappear, and that's what makes her mind cling to you, replaying your presence like a song she can't shake. Picture this, you're at a bar, the crowd thick with weekend energy, she's with her friends, laughing, but you catch her glancing your way. You could walk over, start a conversation, keep her engaged all night. Instead, you talk to her for a moment. Maybe you say, "You look like you're plotting something. What's the plan?" With a smirk, letting the words hang. She responds intrigued, but before the conversation gets comfortable, you pull back. "I'll catch you later," you say, not because you're busy, but because you're in control. You join another group, laugh with a friend, let her see you existing without her. Her eyes follow you, not obviously, but enough. Why didn't he stay? She's thinking, her confidence nudged off balance. Later, when you circle back, her smile's different, eager, like she's been waiting. That's deliberate scarcity. You give her just enough to want more, and that gap is what keeps you in her head. The psychology is primal. Humans chase what's rare, what's not guaranteed. When you're too available, always texting back instantly, always ready to talk, always there, you become predictable, safe, forgettable. But when you're scarce, when you show up with intensity and then step away, you create a void she can't ignore. Her brain starts filling it, wondering where you went, what you're doing, who you are. It's not about manipulating her, it's about respecting your own value enough to not hand it all over up front. She doesn't remember the guy who's always there. She remembers the guy who leaves her wanting, not because he's cruel, but because he's whole without her. But here's where guys mess it up. They think scarcity means ghosting or acting like they don't care at all, shutting her out to seem mysterious. That's not it. I knew a guy, Ethan, who tried this and crashed. He'd meet a woman, have a great conversation, then vanish for days, thinking it'd make her chase him. Instead, she just moved on, assuming he wasn't interested. Deliberate scarcity isn't about disappearing completely, it's about pacing your presence, giving her enough to feel your weight, but not so much she takes you for granted. Ethan's mistake was thinking scarcity means absence. It doesn't. It's presence with boundaries, a signal that you're a man with a life, not a prop in hers. Let's make it practical. You're texting a woman you met last weekend. She's quick-witted, gorgeous, and you're tempted to reply the second her message lands. Don't. Let her text sit, maybe an hour, maybe a day, depending on the vibe. Not to play her, but because you're busy living. When you do respond, make it count, something sharp, like you're bold. But you can't back that up in person. Keep it short, no chasing for a reply. If you're at a party and she's there, talk to her, but don't linger all night. Say something real, then move on, join another conversation, grab a drink, let her feel your absence. That's deliberate scarcity in action. You're not hiding, but you're not hers for the taking, and that's what makes her check her phone later, hoping your name pops up. The challenge is to catch yourself when you're about to overstay. Next time you're talking to a woman, notice that urge to keep the conversation going, to make sure she's into you, to fill every pause. Stop. Ask yourself, am I here because I want to be, or because I'm scared she'll forget me? If it's the second, pull back, and the conversation early, not coldly, but with confidence, like, "This was fun, I'll find you later." Do it because your time's valuable, not because you're trying to trick her. That act of stepping away, of rejecting the need to be her constant focus, is what makes her start to crave you. She'll wonder where you went, and that wonder is what keeps you burned into her thoughts, not as a guy she met, but as the one she can't let go. You're on a city street at night, the neon signs buzzing, the crowd weaving around you like a current. She's walking beside you, her jacket pulled tight against the chill, her words coming fast as she tells you about her day. There's a spark in her eyes, but you sense that subtle test. Maybe she is teasing you about your quiet vibe or probing to see if you'll chase her approval. You don't. This is where the third piece of the psychological hack takes hold. Unapologetic intensity. It's not about being loud or aggressive, it's about rejecting the urge to dilute yourself, to soften your edges to make her comfortable. You bring a raw, focused energy that's all you. And that's what carves you into her memory as the man she can't shake. Imagine you're at a low-lit restaurant, the clatter of plates fading into the background as you sit across from her. She's telling you about her love for spontaneous adventures, maybe hinting she wants a guy who's always up for anything. The old you might have jumped in, spinning a story to prove you're just as wild. Instead, you hold her gaze, your voice low but steady, and say, "I'm not about chasing thrills. I go deep on my work, my people, my life. That's my adventure." It's not a challenge, just truth, delivered with an intensity that makes her pause. "Deep, huh?" she says, her smile shifting like she's seeing something new. "Tell me more." You don't rush to fill the silence. You lean back, sip your drink, and let her lean in. That's unapologetic intensity. You don't apologize for who you are. And that weight is what makes her feel you long after you're gone. The psychology here is sharp. Women are surrounded by guys who water themselves down, cracking safe jokes, agreeing to avoid conflict, keeping things light to stay likable. It's forgettable. When you show up with intensity, when you own your truth without flinching, you're a jolt to her system. It's not about being intimidating, it's about being real, with a focus that cuts through the noise. Her brain locks onto you because you're not another bland interaction, you're a moment that feels alive, charged, different. She doesn't just remember what you said, she remembers how you made her feel, like she was in the presence of something solid, something rare. That's what keeps her up at night, replaying your words, your look, your vibe. But here's where guys go wrong. They think intensity means being over the top, talking louder, acting tougher, or forcing a bad boy vibe to seem powerful. That's not it. I knew a guy, Kyle, who tried this and flopped. He'd go on dates and dial up the drama, staring too hard, dropping heavy lines like, "I'm not like other guys," thinking it'd make him memorable. Instead, she felt uncomfortable, like he was trying to sell her on his intensity. She didn't. Call him back. Intensity isn't a performance, it's authenticity with edge. Kyle's mistake was thinking he had to act intense to be felt. Real intensity comes from being so grounded in yourself that your presence has weight. No theatrics needed. Let's make it real. You're at a friend's party, the room packed with chatter and clinking glasses. She's in your group, throwing out a playful jab. You're so serious. Do you ever have fun? The old you might have laughed it off, tried to prove you're chill. Now you lock eyes, a faint smirk forming, and say, "Fun's overrated. I'm about what's real," makes the good moments hit harder. You don't explain or backpedal, you let it land. Her expression shifts, not to mock, but to curiosity. "What's real to you?" she asks, her voice softer. You don't unload your life story. You say something short, true, like building something that matters. You know what that's like. That's unapologetic intensity. You don't shy away from your depth. And that's what makes her feel your presence, not just hear your words. The challenge is to spot the moments where you're tempted to play it safe. Next time you're with a woman, notice when you feel that urge to lighten the mood, to agree with her, to keep things surface level. Don't. Lean into your truth. If she teases you about your vibe, don't deflect, say, "This is me. I don't do shallow." If she talks about something you don't care for, don't nod along, say, "Not my thing, but I respect the passion." What's something you're obsessed with? The point isn't to be heavy, it's to be real, with an edge that makes her feel you. That's what plants you in her memory, not as a guy she talked to, but as the man who made her feel something she can't quite name. You're in a quiet bookstore cafe, the kind where the smell of old pages mixes with espresso and soft jazz hums in the background. She's across the table, her fingers tracing the rim of her cup, talking about her plans for the weekend. There's a warmth in her voice, but you catch that subtle glance, the one that's testing if you'll keep up the chase, if you'll try to impress her with more. You don't. This is where the final piece of the psychological hack seals the deal: fearless vulnerability. It is not about spilling your guts or playing the tortured soul. It is about rejecting the need to hide your truth, sharing a piece of yourself with quiet strength. This is what makes her not just remember you, but feel you long after you're gone, as the man she can't let fade from her mind. Picture a late-night walk along a riverfront, the city lights dancing on the water, her laughter breaking the silence as you trade stories. She's opening up, sharing a dream she's never told anyone. And then she turns to you, curious. What about you? What's something you're chasing? The old you might have dodged, thrown out a safe answer to keep the vibe light. Now, you pause, look at the water and say, I'm working on being a man I respect, someone who lives by his word, no excuses. It's messy, but it's mine. It's not a confession, just truth, raw and steady. Her eyes soften not with pity, but with something deeper, connection. That's real, she says, her voice catching. Later, when you part ways, she's the one who texts first, saying, I can't stop thinking about what you said. That's fearless vulnerability. You don't hide your core, and that's what makes her see you as unforgettable. The psychology is stark. Women are bombarded with facades, guys who posture, who keep things surface level, who avoid anything that might make them seem less than perfect. It's exhausting and it's forgettable. When you show vulnerability, not as weakness but as strength, you're a rare signal in the noise. You're not begging for her sympathy, you're owning your truth with no apology, and that hits her on a primal level. Her brain locks onto you because you ray not just another interaction, you ray a man who is real, who trusts himself enough to let her see him. That trust builds a bridge she can't help but cross, not because you chased her, but because you gave her something no one else does, a glimpse of the man beneath the armor. But here's where guys fumble. They think vulnerability means oversharing, unloading every fear or failure to seem deep. That's not it. I knew a guy, Ben, who tanked a date by doing exactly this. He met a woman, got comfortable, and started dumping his insecurities, his rough childhood, his fear of never being enough. He thought it'd make him relatable. Instead, she pulled back, overwhelmed, feeling like she was his therapist, not his date. Vulnerability isn't a flood, it's a precise strike. Ben's mistake was thinking openness equals emotional overload. Real vulnerability is controlled, purposeful. A moment where you share something true that shows your strength, not your neediness. Let's make it practical. You're grabbing drinks with her. The bar's warm glow softening the edges of the night. She's talking about her life, then asks, what's something you're proud of? The old you might have puffed up, listing achievements to impress her. Now, you lean in, voice calm, and say, I am proud of the times I kept going when it would have been easier to quit. Like when I rebuilt myself after a low point. You don't dwell or dramatize, you let it land. Then shift the focus back to her. What about you? What's your proudest moment? Her eyes light up, not just with interest, but with respect. She feels you, not because you tried to dazzle her, but because you showed her something real. That's fearless vulnerability. You don't shy away from your truth, but you don't weaponize it either. The challenge is to practice this in the quiet moments. Next time you're with a woman, resist the urge to keep things polished. When she asks about you, don't default to safe answers. Share something real, a moment that shaped you, a belief you hold, a struggle you've faced, but keep it tight, grounded. If she talks about her passions, don't just nod, say, that's fire. For me, it's about carving my own path, even when it's rough. The goal isn't to bear everything. It's to show you're not afraid to be seen. That's what plants you in her heart, not as a guy she met, but as the man she feels connected to. The one she texts at midnight because she needs to hear your voice again. You don't make her remember you by chasing her. You make her remember you by anchoring her emotions, being scarce, intense, and real. That's the hack, not a trick, but a way of being that burns you into her soul. She'll never forget you, not because you tried to be unforgettable, but because you were yourself. And that's enough.